We're live from New Delhi, watching TD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. India's global outreach on Operation Sindoor continues. All party delegations engage with key figures in multiple nations, highlighting India's continued fight against terrorism. Home Minister Amit Shah visiting Jammu and Kashmir for the first since Operation Sindoor to meet BSF personnel. Day after being struck down, US appeals court allows Trump tariffs to temporarily stay in place for now. Ukrainian President Zelensky accuses Russia of engaging in yet another deception by failing to hand over its peace settlement proposal ahead of direct talks next week, while US proposes Moscow to take the deal. Canadian wildfire emergency spreads to second province. State of emergency declared, mass evacuation underway. And on to the details. India's diplomatic outreach following Operation Sindoor continues, with Indian MPs across party lines underlining India's commitment to countering terrorism and deepening cooperation. During a visit to South Africa, the Group 7 delegation, led by NCP-SCP MP Supriya Sule, held a press conference highlighting the common resolve against terrorism. BJP MP Anurag Thakur emphasized the global support India has received in light of repeated terror attacks.
We all have very packed schedules and traveling from one place to another, conveying the message of 1.4 billion Indians that we stand together as we are the victim of cross-border terrorism. And the message is very loud and clear. Whatever we have seen from the reports, that anywhere the other delegations have gone on the issue of terrorism, majority of the people have come in favor because it is not a threat only to India, but a threat to the world.
While the members of the delegation comprise of MP Supriya Sule, Rajiv Pratap Rudi, Vikramjit Singh Sahani, Manish Tiwari, Anurag Singh Thakur, Lavu Sri Krishna Devarayalu, Anand Sharma, former Minister of Commerce and Industry, V. Muralidharan, former Minister of State for External Affairs, and Syed Akbaruddin, former Permanent Representative of India to the UN. While marking the start of a meaningful engagement to convey India's resolute stance against terrorism in Colombia, Group 5 all-party parliamentary delegation led by Congress MP Shashi Tharoor interacted with media, highlighting country's zero-tolerance policy against terrorism.
India suffered a grievous terrorist attack on the 22nd of April, when 26 holidaymakers, tourists, in our northern territory of Jammu and Kashmir were gunned down in cold blood by terrorists from across the border in Pakistan. When this happened, of course, the world rose up to condemn the terrorist attack, but that was as far as it went. There was no action taken, not even by the country where these people had emerged from, namely Pakistan. Nobody was arrested. There was no attempt at any prosecution. India decided that this kind of outrage could not go unpunished.
While Group 6 of the all-party delegation, led by DMK MP Kani Mozi, arrived in Riga, Latvia, Namrata Kumar, Ambassador of India to Latvia, received the delegation. Namrata Kumar emphasized India's firm stance against cross-border terrorism, highlighting its global impact. She reiterated that India, as a victim, is determined to rally international support to combat this shared threat.
In Latvia, they are here especially for a very specific objective, to stress our position on terrorism, of zero tolerance for terrorism, and our continuous fight against terrorism. India and Latvia share very strong and friendly relations. Our delegation is going to come and speak about mobilizing the global alliance for the fight against terrorism.
But the delegation also includes MPs Rajiv Rai, Mian Altaf Ahmed, Brijesh Chawda, Prem Chand Gupta, Ashok Kumar Mittal and former envoys Manjeev S. Puri and Javed Ashraf as part of a diplomatic outreach to highlight India's stance on terrorism. Well, the all-party delegation led by BJP MP Bajayant Panda, which is visiting several countries as part of the Government of India's big diplomatic outreach in the wake of Operation Sindoor, visited Diriyah, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and mud town known for its traditional mud brick architecture. The delegation includes BJP MP Nishikant Dubey, BJP MP Fagnon Konyak, BJP MP Rekha Sharma, AIMIM MP Asaduddin Awaisi, Satnam Singh Sandhu MP Ghulam Nabi Azad and Ambassador Harsh Shringla. And India's anti-terror message has received strong support from Indonesian officials, interfaith bodies and the community at large. Our correspondent Chandni Vasandhani gets us this report from Jakarta.
The Indian parliamentary delegation in Jakarta are assured of full support and aligned vision from Indonesian counterparts and foreign dignitaries. On Thursday, after meeting with think tanks, academia and ambassadors from friendly countries, delegation leader MP Sanjay Kumar Jha said he has received positive response and feels very encouraged that India's anti-terror message is well received.
Economy in the world. So it all happened because India is in the path of development. So largely we are successful in putting our point of view and we getting their support also.
Mr. Jha said that Indonesia is an important stop in his tour, given the country's prominence in several global platforms, such as the Organization of Islamic Cooperation or the OIC.
In all five, this is the most important visit because the largest Muslim population lives here and what they try to do in Pahalgaon. So that way, putting our view, they listened to us. They had a question, and our entire team has responded to that. I think it's a quite successful and very important meeting.
The all-party delegation also met with leaders of the National Mandate Party, which is part of the ruling coalition. Party leaders said that they will relay the peace message from the Indian delegation to the Indonesian parliament. They also committed to express India's anti-terrorism stance in international forums.
I will ensure that our members of Commission 1 will convey this message, the results of the meeting, to the Foreign Ministry of Indonesia, so that the Foreign Minister is fully briefed and can make the appropriate stance in international forums going forward, especially on the OIC conference going forward.
This visit shows a strong commitment between India and Indonesia to counter terrorism and promote peace on the global stage. The Indian delegation is making sure their important message will translate into concrete action. This alignment promises a stronger, unified front against extremism, creating greater security and stability for the region.
Well, international experts have hailed the precision of Operation Sindoor and exposed Pakistan's fake propaganda. The latest comes from John Spencer, world's leading military expert, who in an article on X said that India did not just win a military conflict with Pakistan, but also scored a victory in a technology war with China. The latest report decodes praises given by global experts on India's Operation Sindoor.
The world has hailed the precision of Operation Sindoor. With Operation Sindoor, India not just asserted its military might with Pakistan, but also scored a victory in a technology war with China, according to world's leading military expert, John Spencer. In an article on X, Spencer said Operation Sindoor witnessed a face-off between India's indigenous capabilities against Pakistan's Chinese military platforms and India's victory amounted to a referendum on the technological competition. Spencer said that Operation Sindoor proved to be a full-scale validation of India's defense transformation that began with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Make in India initiative in 2014 and picked up renewed pace in 2020 with the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. The article titled India's Wake-up Call, Why US Defense Reform Must Match the Speed of Modern War, published in Small Wars Journal, has put the spotlight on India's rapid defense modernization. In fact, John Spencer and Vincent Viola, the authors, while complimenting India's self-reliant strides, has urged US to mirror its reforms in the same way. Also, international military analyst Tom Cooper praised India's superiority in aerial warfare.
The Indian armed forces have, in the course of a very carefully planned, carefully orchestrated, methodic, systematic operation, bit by bit and piece by piece, disabled the Pakistani integrated air defense system, then have forced the Pakistani Air Force away from the international border, away from the line of control.
Global experts continue to expose Pakistan's false narrative and propaganda. Damien Simon, a globally recognized open-source intelligence analyst, used satellite imagery to dismantle propaganda from Pakistan and China, exposing the damage inflicted by India on Pakistani air bases, including the destruction of Chinese-made radars, air defense systems, and fighter jets. Yalda Hakim and her Sky News team exposed the existence of terror networks, including outfits like Lashkar-e-Taiba, a fact that Pakistani officials denied repeatedly. Maxar Technologies, US aerospace firm, also confirmed the losses of key Pakistani air assets guarded by Chinese radars and air defense. An editorial piece in New York Times, while examining satellite imagery, highlighted vast destruction in Pakistan. The writers Agnes Chang, Pablo Robles, and Mujib Mashal noted that an examination of satellite imagery indicates that the damage was primarily inflicted by India on Pakistani facilities. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, the DMK MP Kanimozi-led delegation reached Latvia's capital Riga late last night to hold talks and deliberations with important members of the politics, government and think tanks in Latvia. Let's know more about the visit from our correspondent, Divyendra Mondal.
The all-party delegation led by DMK MP Kanimozi have reached Latvia last evening, in fact late last night, and today in Latvia there is a tight schedule for this parliamentary delegation that has come after touring 3 nations, Moscow, Slovenia, Greece and now Latvia. One message that all the parliamentary delegations that are touring different parts of the world carries one simple message, that is Pakistan, to expose Pakistan's terror camps and as well as the terrorist hideouts in Pakistan. The message is loud and clear from all the parliamentary delegation that are touring different nations across different parts of the world. But this particular delegation has a tight schedule packed here in Riga, which is the capital of Latvia. Throughout the day, the delegation would be meeting with parliamentarians, with members in the Foreign Office here in Latvia. This country would, of course, play a very important role, also given the fact that they are a member of the European Union. European Union has an important role to play when it comes to stopping global terrorism and also, when it comes to having an important say in the world politics. So therefore, this delegation meeting important people, both bureaucrats, politicians, as well as intellectuals and academia here in Latvia will go a long way to expose Pakistan and Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. Remember, Pakistan has been causing this proxy war in India and bleeding India for many, many decades. All the countries have condemned terrorism, have condemned that terror has no place in this world. And of course, this delegation's message is being heard loud and clear. All have condemned terrorism and have supported India. And therefore, the message from India is loud and clear. So is the message from the world and from the globe that terrorism has no place in this world.
All right, and moving on, Union Home Minister Amit Shah is in Jammu on a two-day visit where he will meet the civilians affected by Pakistan's shelling at Poonch Dak Bungalow and the BSF soldiers at their unit headquarters today. This is Amit Shah's first visit to the Union Territory post-Operation Sindoor. He will also distribute appointment letters to the next of kin of those killed in the shelling. Home Minister will visit religious places targeted by Pakistani cross-border shelling. 13 civilians, including 4 children, 2 of them siblings, were killed by Pakistan's shelling in Poonch district in retaliation for Indian armed forces carrying out precision-guided targeted strikes on terror infrastructure, causing significant damage in Pakistan. Earlier, Amit Shah chaired a review meeting on Thursday for the Amarnath pilgrimage and evaluated the security arrangements and preparedness meant for the pilgrims. The meeting was attended by Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha and top officials of the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Army, paramilitary forces, police, intelligence agencies and civil administration. Home Minister instructed to maintain the utmost vigilance and ensure the seamless completion of the sacred journey. He said government will leave no stone unturned to facilitate the pilgrims with all necessary facilities. And Indian women in the armed forces have played a crucial role in Operation Sindoor against Pakistan. And when this operation was on, 2 brave naval officers were contributing in their own navy way, circumnavigating the earth. And on 29th of May, they returned to a resounding welcome in Goa, creating a new record, sending a strong message of resurgent Bharat across the globe. Vishal Baristo brings you this special report.
The naval band playing in helicopters in the sky, announcing the arrival of Indian naval ship vessel Tariff in Goa. The Defence Minister of India flagged off Navika Sagar Parikrama 2. The 8-month-long journey was flagged off on October 2 last year. With the completion of Navika Sagar Parikrama 2, India created a record 4th successful mission on an Indian-made vessel. Mission accomplished, announced Lieutenant Commander Dilna K.
Yes, we made it, and today we stand here, alive and strong together. We flew our national flag and Indian Navy's flag at every sea and land across the earth.
Lieutenant Commander Dilna celebrated her wedding anniversary at Point Nemo, the remotest place at sea. She was ably supported in this journey by Lieutenant Commander Rupa A. The brave hearts of Tarini during their mission also participated in the parliamentary proceedings in different countries and also received a warm welcome by the Indian diaspora.
This is not about Rupa and Dilna. This is beyond us, beyond individuals. This is an Indian dream which we were breathing and living.
In his welcome speech, the Defence Minister highlighted the role of women power in the Indian Armed Forces and how both young naval officers have made India proud.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान भारतीय सेनाओं के हर अंग में महिलाओं ने एक्टिव और इफेक्टिव पार्टिसिपेशन किया है। बहुत कम लोगों को इस बात की जानकारी है कि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान एयरफोर्स ने पाकिस्तान और पीओके में जो टेररिज्म के खिलाफ प्रभावी कार्रवाई की है, उसको अंजाम देने में हमारी विमेन पायलट्स और अन्य महिला सैनिकों की एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका रही है।
The Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi, announced that this mission has shown the world what Indian women and Indian Navy are capable of.
After 8 months of gruesome journey in the sea, these 2 proud women and also brave Lieutenant Commander Rupa and Lieutenant Commander Dilna are back, and they have covered 50,000 kilometers, which is equal to 25,000 nautical miles. As you can see, the smile on their faces tell it all. Quite a record. With cameraman Anil in Goa, this is Vishal Baristo for TT India.
And the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh would visit INS Vikrant at sea in Goa and meet the Navy personnel deployed for Operation Sindoor on Friday. Rajnath Singh would be accompanied by the Chief of Naval Staff and other senior officers during the visit. And for more on this, we have Vishal Baristo joining us on the phone line from Goa. Well, Vishal, Defence Minister to visit INS Vikrant today. Tell us the details and the significance of the visit.
A very, very important visit. This is the first visit of the Defence Minister on INS Vikrant. INS Vikrant is deployed at sea off Goa coast, and the Defence Minister would be meeting the personnel of the fleet, and this would be a very crucial visit. He would be speaking to the fleet members and also encouraging them because they were deployed for Operation Sindoor. Let me tell you that Operation Sindoor is still on. It has not been called off. So the first visit of the Defence Minister on the India INS Vikrant is going to be very, very important. We all know that INS Vikrant has been strategically deployed in the Arabian Sea. And now the visit of the Defence Minister, which would be for about an hour at INS Vikrant, will send a strong message across the borders to the world, to the enemy, that Indian Navy and Indian Armed Forces are ready for any eventuality. Meanwhile, also let me tell you that the Defence Minister also spoke about the women empowerment in the Indian Armed Forces and how the Indian women played a crucial role in both active and on the ground against Pakistan terror camps across the border.
All right, Vishal, thank you so much for all those details from Goa. And moving on, in a touching and proud moment for Indian diaspora, the Indian community in Paris came together to organize a Tiranga Yatra, a march carrying the Indian national flag. This special event was held to show love and respect for the brave men and women of the Indian Armed Forces. This was the way to come together and say thank you to the Indian Army, Navy and Air Force to remind the world of the unwavering spirit of Jai Hind. The Yatra honored the sacrifices made by our soldiers who stay far from their families, often in difficult and dangerous conditions, to protect the country and keep us safe. This event in Paris reminded everyone that no matter where we live, we remain deeply connected to our roots, our culture, and the people who protect our nation.
I am here to celebrate the victory of our armed forces against our neighbor country who creates the terrorist attack quite frequently in India. So we are here to support our armed forces, our government and our country. On behalf of our community, I am here to protest against the terrorism and support our country and armed forces.
Indian Army, to thank Indian leaders that they gave us this opportunity actually to celebrate that victory. Whatever we had in Pahalgam, that was unfortunate. So my message is to my Indian government is to that we are not with you physically there, but we are emotionally and we are very connected to our country, and we are proud to be Indian, and we all are together against terrorism.
Well, India AI Mission has selected 10 homegrown AI startups for its global initiative, partnering with Paris-based Station F and HEC Paris. The 4-month program supports global scale-up, market access and collaboration. While interacting with the startups, Minister of Electronics and Information Technology Ashwini Vaishnaw called it a milestone in India's AI innovation diplomacy and global growth. He highlighted the significance of this partnership, stating that India's AI ecosystem is now on the cusp of a global breakthrough. Under this partnership, the program will provide the startups with access to resources, mentorship and networking opportunities within the French and European ecosystems. And still to come on DD India News Hour. US tightens Chinese students' visas over national security concerns.
geopolitics and trade deals, economic challenges amid development, hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, US President Donald Trump on Thursday received temporary approval to continue collecting tariffs under emergency powers by a federal appeal court on Thursday. The United States Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit in Washington said it was pausing the lower court's ruling to consider the government's appeal and ordered plaintiffs in the cases to respond by June 5th and the administration by June 9th. This comes a day after 3 judges ruled Trump overstepped his authority in imposing global tariffs and gave the White House 10 days to halt the import taxes. White House advisor Peter Navarro said Trump administration is ready to take its appeal to the Supreme Court. Navarro said that U.S. tariffs would remain in place for now and that the administration is still in talks with other countries to continue trade negotiations.
The tariffs remain in place. The court told us, they didn't all but tell us, they told us, go do it another way. So you can assume that even if we lose, we will do it another way. And I can assure the American people that the Trump tariff agenda is alive, well, healthy, and will be implemented to protect you, to save your jobs and your factories, and to stop shipping foreign wealth, our wealth into foreign hands.
All right, for more on this, we have Akshay Dongre joining us. Well, Akshay, given that the appeal court gave Trump the green light, at least for now, to keep collecting tariffs, how big of a deal is it? What does this signify?
Well, as far as the tariffs are concerned, Lipakshi, this was in fact a big deal as far as the tension between the court and the executive, that is the government of the United States, is concerned. This tussle has always been there. The courts and the Supreme Court of the United States is considered one of the most powerful court in around the world as far as the Constitution, the American Constitution is concerned. There is little that even the presidents can do once a Supreme Court once the Supreme Court of US comes to a decision, or once the courts of the US rule out something as far as decisions of the government is concerned. So the question of judicial activism is rather old in the United States, but in the last tenure of Donald Trump, we saw that that tussle escalated, because especially in democratic governments, the presidents have been working in cohesion with the government as well as the judiciary, and here as far as the policy of Donald Trump are concerned, they have been slightly radical. They have not gotten so much support from the courts of the United States. But every time there has been a tussle, we have seen very serious allegations coming in from Donald Trump's side of judicial activism, and the judges railroading all the hard work that they have been doing as far as formulation of policies are concerned. Now, talking about the specific tariffs, as far as the negotiations are concerned, it took quite a lot of months as far as the Trump administration to implement tariffs, to bring tariffs. There was an entire trade war that had hit the global economy. The stock markets were crashing around the world, and now suddenly a trade court comes in. It's not even the Supreme Court. The trade court comes in and says that you have that they are rather raises questions as far as the tariffs are concerned. So while the Trump administration is showcasing these tariffs as a game changer move and something that is going to revolutionize the American economy, a court can just come in and say that no, you cannot do that. There were expectations that the Donald Trump administration would have gone to the Supreme Court, or as we rightly heard, that they would have done it some other way. But finally, we are seeing that there is some sort of peace the courts have said that as of now, temporarily, the tariffs can stay in place till the time you find it another way of implementing the tariffs. But it seems that this time the courts have taken a backstage, especially they have taken some steps back, especially the mounting attacks on the courts are concerned. So Donald Trump had started a concerted effort to also, talk to the people about the role of courts as far as their role as a facilitator of justice is concerned, from that to an activist that comes in crashing as far as major executive decisions of the government is concerned. So there were allegations that courts want to assume the responsibilities of the government and even the work of the government. So that was a tension which has now fizzled down quite a bit.
Right. Akshay, you were also mentioning about judicial activism. How do you think which way this case could go, with Karen Leavitt also calling halting tariffs as judicial overreach?
Well, judicial overreach and activism have always been there as far as the allegations of certain governments are concerned, not only happening in the US, but since the courts are so strong, the governments cannot do much, but they have to agree to whatever the courts are saying, because the constitution gives the courts such power that cannot be questioned. That this question of overreach and activism have been there, but it seems that even the courts have stepped back a little. If the courts once again come back and implement a ruling that the tariffs are illegal, then certainly the Trump administration is already ready to find some loopholes or find some other way to continuing with collecting the tariffs, but just rename it or find some loophole and exploit it. So it seems that has been allowed so far.
All right. Thank you so much, Akshay, for all those insights and details. And moving on, US President Donald Trump called Federal Reserve Chair to the White House on Thursday for their first face-to-face meeting since he took office in January. Trump told Jerome Powell he was making a mistake by not lowering interest rates. Both the White House and Fed confirmed the two met at the president's invitation, renewing a fractious relationship in which Trump has repeatedly berated Powell for not cutting rates as the president desires. The Fed said in a statement after the meeting that Chair Powell did not discuss his expectations for monetary policy. He told Trump that he and his colleagues at the Fed will set monetary policy as required by law to support maximum employment and stable prices. It was Powell's first presidential visit in 3 years. The last one was with Joe Biden and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen at the White House. And the Trump administration has given Harvard University 30 days to challenge the revocation of their ability to enroll international students. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security sent Harvard a notice of intent on Wednesday to withdraw the school's certification under the Federal Student and Exchange Visitor Program, which allows Harvard to enroll non-U.S. students. Harvard has said losing that right would affect about 1/4 of its student body and devastate the school. It has denied Trump administration charges of alleged bias against conservatives and coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party. Harvard had argued that the revocation violated its free speech and due process rights under the U.S. Constitution. In addition, Harvard contended that the revocation failed to comply with DHS regulations. The regulations required providing at least 30 days to challenge the agency's allegations and giving Harvard an opportunity to pursue an administrative appeal. And the United States is cracking down on Chinese student visas amid growing concerns over national security as well. U.S. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce declared on Thursday that the U.S. will not tolerate the Chinese Communist Party exploiting American universities or stealing U.S. research and intellectual property. At a State Department briefing, Bruce withheld exact numbers but confirmed that visas would be aggressively revoked for those deemed threats. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio unveiled the sweeping new policy targeting students linked to the CCP or studying in sensitive fields. This sweeping measure follows a Trump administration directive to halt new student and exchange visa appointments at U.S. missions globally.
The United States, I further can say here, will not tolerate the CCP's exploitation of U.S. universities or theft of U.S. research, intellectual property, or technologies to grow its military power, conduct intelligence collection, or repress voices of opposition. The Trump administration is focused on protecting our nation and our citizens by upholding our national security and public safety through our visa process, obviously very openly and transparently applied by Secretary Marco Rubio.
While the United Nations Secretariat is preparing a massive 20% budget cut, slashing $3.7 billion and eliminating nearly 6,900 jobs. The directive, revealed in an internal memo, demands the departments outline these deep cuts by June 13th, a mounting financial crisis fueled in large parts by the United States, which owes nearly $1.5 billion in unpaid dues and has slashed foreign aid under the Trump administration, crippling UN humanitarian efforts. UN Controller Chandramouli Ramanathan frames the cuts as part of UN80, an ambitious plan to modernize global governance. The cuts would take effect on January 1st, the start of the next budget cycle. And the world leaders are gearing up for a crucial NATO summit in The Hague. When the global security challenges mounting, this meeting will focus on strengthening alliances, boosting defense strategies, and addressing emerging threats. As tensions rise in various regions, NATO's role in maintaining stability has never been more critical. What can we expect from this upcoming high-stakes summit? Mark Limberg reports for more from The Hague.
Here in The Hague at the World Forum, the stage is set for what promises to be one of the most crucial NATO summits in recent years. In June, world leaders, defense ministers and top military officials will gather here to discuss pressing security issues, from strengthening collective defense to NATO's role in an increasingly volatile world. With tensions in Eastern Europe, rising concerns over maritime security and an increasing focus on cyber threats, this summit will shape the alliance strategy for years to come. Key players include NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, US President Donald Trump and European leaders Starmer, Macron and EU President von der Leyen, who are expected to push for stronger transatlantic cooperation. The presence of Indo-Pacific partners is also a major talking point, as NATO looks beyond its traditional borders to address global security challenges. And while the discussions inside will be intense, outside The Hague will come to a standstill. The area around the World Forum will be locked down with road closures, heightened security and restricted access stretching across parts of the city. Dutch authorities will deploy additional police and military personnel to ensure the safety of the delegates, which will make this one of the most secure zones in the Netherlands. With so much at stake, all eyes are on The Hague as NATO leaders define the future of global security. Reporting from the site of the upcoming NATO summit in The Hague, the Netherlands, this is Mark Limburg for DD India.
And moving on, the European Union and India announced joint naval exercises in the Indian Ocean. The joint exercise, scheduled for June 1st to 3rd, will involve Indian Navy warships and 2 frigates. The joint exercise will be focused on counter-piracy operations and enhanced communication to strengthen maritime security cooperation. The exercise involves Indian Navy ships and EU Naval Force frigates aiming to boost maritime security cooperation. Both parties reaffirmed their commitment to the free, open, inclusive and rules-based maritime order in the Indo-Pacific region. Ambassador of the European Union to India said that the leaders of both sides have said we need to have a substantial free trade agreement agreed by the end of the year, and both sides are working hard to get there. And the Indian Pavilion and Expo 2025 Osaka has been a resounding success, captivating visitors with its rich cultural heritage, vibrant traditions and innovative spirit. Visitors to the pavilion are widely being praised for its design, inspired by the intricate patterns and colors of Indian art. The pavilion has also highlighted India's growing innovation and technological prowess with exhibits on the country's achievements in space exploration, IT and renewable energy. Well, the Indira Gandhi Cultural Centre of the High Commission of India in Dhaka has unveiled a week-long art exhibition titled Rabindranama, paying tribute to the enduring influence of Indian polymath Rabindranath Tagore through the creative expressions of 65 renowned Bangladeshi artists. Rabindranama showcases visual interpretations inspired by Tagore's life, philosophy and artistic legacy in celebration of his 164th birth anniversary. And moving on to West Asia, Israel has agreed to a U.S. ceasefire proposal for Gaza, but Hamas said it was reviewing it as a U.S.-backed system for distributing food aid in the shattered enclave expanded. As per Israeli media, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the families of hostages held in Gaza that Israel had accepted a deal presented by U.S. President Donald Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. Netanyahu's office did not confirm the reports, but White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt told reporters in Washington that Israel had signed off on the proposal. The proposal in its initial phase would include a 60-day ceasefire and humanitarian aid flowing through UN-run operations. Well, Israel has insisted that Hamas disarm completely and be dismantled as a military and governing force, and that all 58 hostages still held in Gaza must be returned before it will agree to end the conflict. Hamas has rejected the demand to give up its weapons and says Israel must pull its troops out of Gaza and commit to ending the conflict. Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Thursday that Russia was engaging in yet another deception by failing to hand over its peace settlement proposal ahead of a potential meeting between Moscow and Kyiv. Zelensky, in his nightly video address, said the so-called memorandum they promised and seemingly prepared for more than a week has still not been seen by anyone. As Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov early this week said that Moscow had drafted a memorandum outlining a settlement position in the three-year-old conflict in Ukraine.
Все вони роблять, щоб зустрічі були пустими. Це ще одна причина, щоб були достатні санкції, достатній тиск на Росію.
Well, meanwhile, Kremlin said on Thursday it was still waiting for a response from Ukraine on Russia's proposal to hold the next round of peace talks in Istanbul on June 2nd to begin discussions on draft memorandums for a peace accord. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that so far Moscow has not received a reply from Kyiv. And White House said on Thursday U.S. President Donald Trump expressed hope that the upcoming peace talks between Ukraine and Russia will help advance his efforts to facilitate a peace agreement. In response to a question about Trump's recent comments, White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said that the U.S. expects the Istanbul talks to go forward. Earlier this month, Putin spurned a challenge to meet face-to-face with Volodymyr Zelensky in Turkey.
Well, it is my understanding and it is our hope that Russia and Ukraine will engage in direct talks and negotiations next week in Istanbul, and we believe that meeting is going to take place, and that is a meeting the President encouraged and urged for these two sides to come together and negotiate directly. And the President has been clear from the very beginning of this conflict that he wants to see this conflict solved on the negotiating table, not on the battlefield, and he's told that to both leaders, again, both publicly and privately. So hopefully next week it will move the ball forward in this. We will let you know if the President plans to send a representative. I'm not tracking that at this time.
Well, the United States called on Russia, the United Nations Security Council, on Thursday to accept a comprehensive ceasefire proposal in Ukraine, calling it Russia's best possible outcome. Speaking at the Security Council, acting Deputy U.S. Ambassador John Kelly said if Russia makes the wrong decision to continue this catastrophic war, the United States will have to consider stepping back from our negotiation efforts to end this conflict. However, he cautioned that if Russia's aggression continues, the U.S. may be compelled to withdraw from peace talks and implement stricter sanctions.
If Russia makes the wrong decision to continue this catastrophic war, the United States will have to consider stepping back from our negotiation efforts to end this conflict. To be clear, in doing so, we would not be abandoning our principles or our friends. Rather, we would be recognizing Russia's refusal to work with us toward a desirable outcome. As President Trump has made clear, We want to work with Russia, including on this peace initiative and an economic package. There is no military solution to this conflict. The deal on offer now is Russia's best possible outcome. President Putin should take the deal. We will call on both Russia and Ukraine to make the difficult, historic decision to pursue peace. The responsibility of ending this war ultimately lies with them. If one side proves unable or unwilling to do so, it will own the consequences.
A North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, led a party meeting on strengthening the military and inspected an artillery drill on Friday. The party meeting took place on Wednesday and Kim inspected the artillery drill on Thursday. In an expanded meeting of the 8th Central Military Commission of the Workers' Party of Korea, Kim emphasized that roles of party organizations should be strengthened. Kim also said it is very important to frequently organize firing contests close to the actual warfare environment to build a powerful military force. This was the latest in a series of moves by Kim focused on strengthening the military in the past weeks. Well, the Western Canadian province of Saskatchewan declared a wildfire state of emergency as wildfires erupt across the region, Premier Scott Moe announced on Thursday. Over 200 wildfires have already scorched the province this spring, with satellite images capturing thick smoke plumes arising from the land. The crisis has intensified. 17 fires remain active and evacuations are underway in at least 15 communities. Moe warned of deteriorating weather conditions, said that there's no rain in the forecast and need that rainfall sooner rather than later. As conditions deteriorate, Saskatchewan is joining forces with neighbouring Manitoba to combat the growing threat. Manitoba too declared a state of emergency on Wednesday, ordering thousands to evacuate from its northern and eastern regions. And still to come on DT India News Hour. RBI boosts gold reserves to 879.58 tons amid strong economic outlook for 2025-2026. RCB storms into IPL 2025 final with dominant 8-wicket win over Punjab Kings. Welcome back. You're watching DT India News Hour. Lipakshi Khuranan on to some business news now. Stocks slipped in Asia on Friday and the US dollar drooped with Treasury yields as investors digested an appeals court kept President Donald Trump's tariffs in effect. Japan's Nikkei saw the most pronounced selling after experiencing the most pronounced buying on Thursday. The Nikkei dropped 1.7% in the Asian morning, putting it basically back at Wednesday's closing level. The yen strengthened about 2% from its low on Thursday. Hong Kong's Hang Seng sank 1.4% and maintained mainland China's blue chip index eased 0.3% in early trading. South Korea's Kospi fell 0.5%. US S&P 500 futures retreated 0.2%. The cash index rose 0.4% overnight, but that was largely the effect of resilient Nvidia's financial results from after the market closed on Wednesday, to which Asian shares already had a chance to react. And the Reserve Bank of India has ramped up its gold reserves to 879.58 metric tons, with an increase of 57.48 tons over the previous year, according to the central bank's annual report for 2024-2025. According to the latest annual report by RBI, Indian economy is poised to remain the fastest growing major economy in 2025-26 by leveraging its sound macroeconomic fundamentals, robust financial sector and commitment towards sustainable growth. Well, you're watching DT India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. In Indian Premier League, Royal Challengers Bengaluru thrashed Punjab Kings by 8 wickets in Qualifier 1 and stormed into the finals after delivering their most ruthless performance so far in the ongoing season. RCB skipper Rajat Patidar won the toss and opted to bowl. RCB got a strong start as Yash Dayal struck in the opening over to remove opener Priyansh Arya. Punjab Kings collapsed for 101 in 14.1 overs. Chasing 102 runs, RCB cruised to 106 for 2 in 10 overs, with Phil Salt smashing unbeaten 56 runs off 27 balls. Punjab will now face the winner of eliminator between Mumbai Indians and Gujarat Titans. And a set of frontline Indian Test players will look to acclimatise to English conditions as India A take on the England Lions in a 4-day unofficial test starting from Friday. The India A squad features Yashasvi Jaiswal and Nitesh Reddy alongside Abhimanyu Iswaran, Dhruv Jurel, Karun Nair and pacers Akashdeep and Shardul Thakur. This match will provide an opportunity to players to adapt to the pronounced swing conditions before the official test series kicks off on June 20th. On the other hand, England Lions captain James Rieu, along with spinner Rehan Ahmed and all-rounder Chris Walkers, will look to find early form ahead of the series. And on to updates from the French Open 2025. World number 1 Jannik Sinner eased into the third round with a straight set win over Richard Gasquet. Sinner is on a 16-match winnings run at Grand Slams and is attempting to become the first Italian man to win the French Open since 1976. Third seed Alexander Zverev earned a hard-fought victory over Dutchman Jesper de Jong to advance to the French Open third round. The 28-year-old Zverev is aiming to win his first Grand Slam title. Meanwhile, Mira Andreeva and Jessica Pegula also came out on top in their respective encounters to qualify for the third round of the prestigious event. And Juventus president Gianluca Ferrero unveiled a memorial in Turin, Italy, to mark the 40th anniversary of the 39 soccer fans who lost their lives in the Heysel Stadium disaster in Brussels, Belgium. The incident occurred before the European Cup final between Liverpool and Juventus in 1985. A group of Liverpool fans had charged into the terrace of the stadium and as panic ensued, a concrete wall collapsed. Over 600 people were injured, leading to a 5-year ban on English clubs from European competitions. Among those present at the ceremony were former Liverpool player Ian Rush, who played in the match that day. And two-time French Open finalist Casper Ruud slammed ATP's ranking system after bowing out from French Open on Wednesday. Ruud said the ATP's ranking system was like a rat race as players felt compelled to compete in the tour's mandatory events, even if they are carrying injuries. 7th seed Ruud had crashed out of the French Open after losing to unseeded Nuno Borges in the second round. The Norwegian said that he had been struggling with knee pain that restricted his movement. Now to some badminton news now. India's double pair of Satvik Sairaj, Ranka Reddy and Chirag Shetty will face the Malaysian duo of Gauses Fee and Noor Izzadeen in the quarterfinals on Friday. Satvik and Chirag, marking a comfortable comeback to the World Tour, have a spell out on the sidelines, came back from a game down to beat 7th-seeded Indonesian duo of Sabar Gautama and Mohammad Zareza 19-21, 21-16, 21-19 in a grueling contest that lasted 1 hour and 14 minutes on Thursday. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.